Good morning, Cosmo students. Today we are going to be going over Chapter 14, Principles of Hair Design in your Cosmo Milady book. Our objective for today, which I've also attached into the chat, just in case someone comes in later, pops in, it will be in the chat for you to read over when you pop in. Our objective for today will be to describe sources of hair design and list the 5 elements of hair design and their relation to hairstyling, as well as being able to explain the 5 principles of hair design and their specific contribution to a hairstyle. You'll also be able to identify the 7 different facial shapes and designs that benefit each hairstyle, and also the 2 designs for men. Let's get into the introduction. To add value to your career as a stylist, you should take the time to learn how to design the best hairstyle for your client. It's not a rushing process, just take your time. The process begins with analyzing the entire person by using the elements and principles of design to enhance positive features and minimize more challenging ones. When it comes to that, the client will tell you what they love about them and what they don't like about them and what they want to showcase and what they want to hide. That all comes to play in your consultation. An understanding of design and art principles will help you develop the artistic skill and judgment needed to create the best possible design for your client. Discovering the philosophy of hair design. With hair design, you have to have a vision, you have to follow a plan, work at that plan, try and try again, and take calculated risk. I'm gonna say it again because it's part of one of your verification questions. You wanna have a vision. Having a vision means you find inspiration from TV shows, from art galleries, from looking outside and seeing the trees. Like right now, we're going through fall and the leaves are going to start changing colors. So you can get inspiration from those. You can get inspiration from movies. You can get inspiration from colors on clothes, patterns from clothes. You can grab inspiration from anywhere. Then you want to follow a plan. A good hairstylist, you always have a vision of where you want the end of where you want the end result to be before you begin. For example, you have a client that is a reoccurring client. So you pretty much know what she likes, what she doesn't like, but you also know that she doesn't mind you switching things up. So this particular day, you know that she's coming in and you have a vision way before she even comes in about what color you're going to do, if you're going to do color, what haircut you're going to do, and how you're going to style this haircut with the color for this client. Then you're going to work at that plan and make sure the client's okay with your plan and your direction of where you want to go. Then you want to work at that plan. And once you have your inspiration, once you have your plan, you'll need to decide what tools and techniques you're going to use to achieve that certain colors, to achieve that certain haircut, achieve that certain hairstyle for that client. And also, you're going to put it all together to make sure the client visualizes it, make sure you visualize it, make sure you guys are on the same page. Once you have that, you're going to try and try again. What I mean by that is, as a hairstylist, you're going to have a visual understanding of which hairstyles will work best for different face shapes and body types. This does take time and does take experience to train your eye to be able to see the client, see their face shape, realize what kind of identify what face shape they have and body type that they have, and be able to spit off what hairstyle, or know in the back of your brain what hairstyle will complement this client. That takes practice, and people are still practicing it today. So don't get discouraged if it's not something that clicks right away. If it does, yay for you. That's exciting and you're freaking awesome. Then you want to take calculated risks. Taking calculated risks means when you, as a professional, you know what should happen. You know how this should look, and you know in your brain, based off what you've been taught and your knowledge, what should be the end result. But at the same time, not every client and not every head, not every type of hair, not every texture of hair, every hairstyle will work for every single person, no matter how much training and how much skills and knowledge that you have, you're still taking calculated risk. You're having a strong foundation in technique along with practicing personal skills will also allow you to take calculated risks. It is important in our field that we take these calculated risks to help build our creativity. Sometimes stylists limit themselves and put themselves in boxes so that they don't have to jump outside that box and be creative. But that's the best part of what we do. We're creative beings. We are artists. That is who we are. That is what makes us great hairstylists. Finding the inspiration from everywhere and transferring and putting it onto someone's head. You, I always suggest jumping out that box, being put outside the box, and never allow anyone to put you inside of the box. A little backstory about me, real quick. When I was in beauty, I was only given, truthfully, African American hair, types, texture, all of that. And then when it came down to me graduating, I had to scramble and figure out who can I do this service on, that service on, and this service on, because all I was doing was blowouts on clients when I was in school. And so when I was in school, I decided I will not be put into a box because I felt like the school was trying to put me into a box and it wasn't allowing me to expand on that creativity and expand on the knowledge that I was being given and to tap into those skills that I was being taught. So I always made sure to not put myself in a box or not allow anyone to put me in a box and do me and find my creative niche that I loved about myself. So, with that being said, it's so good to follow this, to have a vision, follow a plan, work at that plan, try and try again, and take calculated risks. We can't stress how taking calculated risks, how important that is. When you're defining the elements of hair design, you have line, form, space, design, texture, and hair color. And what I mean by that is lines defines line defines form and space. The presence of one line nearly always means that there are others involved. Lines create shape, design, and movement of a hairstyle. You have horizontal lines, you have vertical lines, you have diagonal lines, you have curved lines. Each of these lines give you something different when it comes to creating hairstyles. Horizontal lines create width and hair design. They extend in the same direction and maintain a constant distance apart and parallel from the floor and related to the horizon. Then you have vertical lines. Vertical lines create length and height in the hair. As you see here in this image, her hair protrudes up, which creates those vertical lines and which gives you that height in her hair. And in her horizontal lines, excuse me, they create the width in the hair, like how they have here, where her bangs are horizontally, which creates the width and makes it look wider. Then you have diagonal lines. Diagonal lines are positioned between horizontal and vertical lines. These lines come to play more so when you have your graduated bobs, you have your A-line bobs. They are often used to emphasize and minimize facial features. And what they mean by that is when you have these diagonal lines, the hair generally falls forward. So it falls towards the face and it can cover the face and minimize some facial features. Then you have curved lines. Curved lines move in a circular or semicircular direction and soften a design. Like how this in this image here with this curved line, it softens out her face. As you can notice her jawline, how strong it is, but with these circle curved lines, it makes her face appear softer and more feminine. Then when it comes to designing with lines, when designing with lines, hairstyles are created by the types of line, direction, or combination that you choose. The overall look of the hair design can be established through various line placements. You have single lines, you have parallel lines, You have contrasting lines, you have transitional lines, and you have directional lines. Let's go back up to single lines. With single lines, they are used in one length hairstyles, like your blunt bobs, where all the hair is at one length. You have no layers, there's no additional shape to it. It's all coming to the same point. All the weight is at the same point. And these hairstyles are best for the clients who require the lowest maintenance when styling their hair. Someone who doesn't want to do too much to their hair, who doesn't have the time to do much to their hair in the morning, or just doesn't know how to do hair on a daily basis. Single line, blunt haircuts, hair at one length, no layers, no additional face framing, nothing will be best for those type of clients, the low maintenance clients. And are there are so many of them. Sometimes it's good to give them a little switch up here and there. Then you have parallel lines. Parallel lines are repeating lines in a hairstyle. These lines can be straight or curved. It doesn't matter which one. It could be both. The repetition of lines creates more interest in the design. Crimping hair or crinkle wave is an example of a style using curved parallel lines. As you see here in this image on our slide, they crimped her hair. All her hair and all the lines are parallel to one another. Then you have contrasting lines. With contrasting lines, they are horizontal and vertical lines that meet at a 90-degree angle. These lines create a hard edge. Contrasting lines in a design usually create distinct looks and work best for clients able to carry off a strong style. And right here in this image on our slide, this is an image of contrasting lines. You have some horizontal lines. You have some diagonal lines. You also have some vertical lines, all within the same haircut. Then you have transitional lines, which are usually curved lines that are used to blend and soften horizontal and vertical lines. These lines are used frequently when texturizing a haircut, along with hair color placement and color blending. So over here in this image, this will be an image of transitional lines, where it's a little slightly curved here on the sides. And you see there's some texture in there. I can see it, the texture in the top. And that also comes with, you can't see that comes with training your eyes low and comes with practice. Directional lines, sorry y'all, I'm a little bit too fast today. Directional lines are lines with definite forward or backward movement. The lines go forward, they move backwards. It's a whole bunch of movement within the hair. Now let's jump on to form and space. With form and space, form outlines or silhouette or a silhouette of the style. So let's look at the definition for form. Form is the mass or general outline of a hairstyle. It is three-dimensional and has length, width, and depth. Form may also be referred to as volume. Solid, smoother forms with minimal texture most often give a slimming appearance to the outline of the style, where more textured forms can add weight. The hair form should be in proportion to the shape of the head and face, the length and width of the neck, and the shoulder line. So form is the outline of the style. And you see her outline in this image right here. They have created volume in the hair. They have created volume in the hair with her hairstyle. And it is proportioned to the rest of her face and neck. Then you have space. Space is the area surrounding the form or area the hairstyle occupies. Let's check out the definition for space here in our book on page 299. Space is the area surrounding the form or the area of the hairstyle that the hairstyle occupies. We are more aware of the positive form than the negative spaces. In hair design, with every every movement, the relationship of the form and space changes. A hairstylist must keep every angle in mind. I'm gonna read that again. A hairstylist must keep every angle in mind. Let's do this one more time. A hairstylist must keep every angle in mind. It's very important. All the angles of the head and the space that you're in matter. They can drastically change your haircut. If you miss an angle, or if you don't follow the angles, or you don't direct hair in the right way, it can literally change your hair, your whole hairstyle, your whole haircut. Not only of the forms being created, but of the spaces surrounding the form as well. The space may contain curls, curves, waves, straight hair, or any combination. That's very, very important. You should remember that just for future references as you go along. Design and texture. We have styling tools and we have design texture refers to the directional wave patterns or illusion of motion in the hair. Design texture must be taken into consideration when creating a style for your client. All hair, whether straight, wavy, curly, or excessively curly, has a unique directional pattern and its own movement. For example, straight hair reflects light better than curly hair. It also reflects the most light when it is cut into a single length, and that's when you get your single lines, you get your flat haircuts. Wavy hair can be combed directionally to create horizontal lines, which is what they show in this figure here. And curly hair is more coiled and often grows more compact together. Curly hair will reflect less light and create a larger form than straight or wavy hair. Creating design texture with styling tools. When you're creating texture with styling tools, you can use curling irons, hot rollers, flat irons. You can use crimpers. You can use, I've been seeing people wrap hair around a pencil and like a wand, but super, super tight because pencils are small. And then you put the flat iron and close it on the hair along the pencil. And then when you take it off, you have a super, super, super tight wanded curl. It's really pretty. It's also very fun to do. It's something creative and it looks cool when clients see you doing it. It's like, ooh, I know something new, but it's not really new. And you also can wrap the hair. You can use patterns like zigzags. You can do finger waves, braids, and locks are also other ways of creating temporary textured pattern changes. And you will also learn more about that as we go along in the other chapters. And when you're changing design texture with chemicals, then you have like your natural texture. If it's more coarse, people will typically use, you'll have relaxers, you'll have things like that to chemically alter the natural texture of the hair. It won't revert back unless you completely cut it off and start all over. That's the only way that it will revert back. As the hair grows long enough to alter the texture pattern, a retouch chemical service will need to be done on the new growth to make the design pattern more uniform. If they don't, and they want to grow it out, you just have to make sure that you're telling them that they have to have a regular appointment with you to make sure that their hair is getting washed, shampooed, moisturized as they go through this journey so their hair doesn't dry and break off at the meeting point of the natural natural new growth that has is not pretty, and they wind up with a short haircut. And just a few tips that the book is suggesting when you're designing for directional wave patterns, you want to use creative discretion when using multiple directional wave patterns, combinations together in one design. This design is ideal for a client who wants to achieve a trendy multi-texture look with volume and unconstructed lines. However, may be less appropriate for more conservative professionals who wish for a smoother finished design. Smooth patterns accent the face and are particularly useful when you wish to narrow a round head shape. Curly patterns take attention away from the face and can be used to soften square or rectangular features. We'll learn more about that as we go along this chapter. Let's get into some hair color, which is my favorite thing. It's so fun. We have dimension with color and you have lines with color. Hair color. With hair color, you want to create a visual plan for placement and patterns of your color choices. And what I mean by that is when you're looking at a client, you're deciding how you're going to color their hair based off what they have um, talked to you about during your consultation, what picture visuals they have brought to you, and what your plan is in your head for them based off their face shape, their body type, and what they like and what they don't like about their features, their physical features. This is where the creating a visual plan for placement and patterns of your color choices. You're going to figure out where to place what color, what colors you're going to do, what type of patterns you're going to try to create within the hair. Then you want to consider how each color weighs with the other variables. Like if this color will bring out their eye color. Will this make their eye color pop more? Or will this make them look more pale? Or will this bring color to their skin? You want to look at all those and see if those colors weigh with the variables that you're dealing with the client. Then you want to consult with your client about their color objectives and or what look or impact is he or she trying to achieve. And that is where your consultation plays the biggest role. Because if the client likes something about them or they want to show emphasis or bring emphasis to a certain part of their face, their body, or even their hair, this is where your consultation will come into play and ask the client what they like or what they want to see be achieved by the end result of this service they're receiving. And let's get into understanding the principles of hair design. With principles of hair design, you have proportion, you have balance, you have rhythm, you have emphasis, and you have harmony. I'm gonna say those again. You might want to write them down because they are part of one of your verification questions when we get done with this presentation today. You have proportion, you have balance, you have rhythm, you have emphasis, and you have harmony. When it comes to proportion, proportion is the comparative relationship of one thing to another. For example, a 60-inch television set might be considered out of proportion or scale in a very small bedroom. Understanding the facial and head proportion is important. A person with a very small chin and a very wide forehead might be said to have a head shape that is not in proportion. A well-chosen hairstyle could create the illusion of better proportion for such a client. So the way they want to describe that with body proportion, the hair must be in proportion and compatible to the body shape. Like this lady here, she's a smaller, petite lady, but they have this big hair on her head. That does not complement her body type. But then when you put the same big hair on a lady who's more fully figured, it's balanced. It goes with her body type, it's proportioned to her body, and it all flows together. It doesn't look like it doesn't belong on her head. Then we have balance. Balance is establishing equal or appropriate proportions to create symmetry in hairstyling, and it can be the proportion of height or width. With balance, you also have two ways to measure balance. You have symmetrical and you have asymmetrical. Symmetrical is when you split the head, imagine you split the head with an imaginary line vertically and horizontally in the middle. It's balanced on one side to the other side. They're the same weight, the same length, and it's equal on both sides. It's a mirror image of one another. Then you have asymmetrical. With asymmetrical, it is established when you have two imaginary halves of a hairstyle but have equal visual weight, but are proportioned unevenly. So when you have asymmetrical, you still do the same, you cross the face with the vertical line and a horizontal line. The weight on both sides are equal to one another, but the height is different. You may have one side longer than the other, and that is intentional. That is that's asymmetrical balance when you're looking at a head. Then we have rhythm. Rhythm is a regular pulsation or recurrent pattern of movement and design. In your dance, rhythm can be fast or slow. Also, so goes with hair design. You have a fast rhythm which moves quickly, like tight curls. Like in this picture, if you take your mouse or even take a pen or whatever you have in your hand and you follow the curl wave pattern, it will make you go down it really fast. So the rhythm of this hair is fast. And then we have slow rhythm. Slow rhythm can be seen in larger shapes or long waves. Like this image here, if you take your mouse or your pen and you follow the rhythm of the hair, you follow the rhythm of the curl or the wave, it's slow. Like you go down it and it's long, and then you start to curve, and then you start to go with the rhythm of the hair. Next up, we have emphasis. Emphasis, also known as the focus, is what your eye naturally draws to when you're looking at something. Like if you're looking at, so say you're looking at yourself in the mirror, what does your eye automatically go to first? What does it see first? When you're looking at someone walking down the street and they have some an outfit on, and it's like colored here and there, what does your eye focus on? Same thing goes with hair. What do you see when you first see someone, and what does your eye get drawn to? When it comes to emphasis, you have different wave patterns. You have changes in form. You have color blocks. You have color. You have ornamentation, which is jewelry in the hair. You have all these things that can be emphasized on a client's head. With wave patterns, like for instance, this image right here, under wave patterns, you have the crimping in the hair and you have the waves in the hair. So when I first looked at this picture, I automatically saw the crimping in the hair. Then I went to the whole hairstyle as a whole. Drop in the chat what you see when you first looked at that picture. Let's go to changing the form. Change in form. When I look at this picture, my eye focuses on the half donut, half, I call it a half donut. That's what it looks like. That's what my eye goes to. And then it goes to the braid. And then it goes to how slick and how it changes. then it goes to, then I look at the whole thing as a whole. So let's drop in the chat as well what you see in that one, what you see, what your eye focuses on when you see the color, and what your eye focuses on when you see the ornamentation picture. And when I see the color, I see the color block. I see the pink. And then I see the green. And then I see her hair as a whole. My eye automatically focuses to the pink because it's the one that stands out. It's what the stylist who created this look wanted you to see first. And then when you get to ornamentation, my eye naturally goes to the jewel that's in her hair, the hair piece that is in her let me think of what that is. A low bun. I had a brain fart for a second. And that is what my eye naturally draws to. So what I want y'all to do is I want y'all to take a few minutes or a few seconds while we're going through and drop in the chat what you see when you look at each one of these images for emphasis. I'm gonna give y'all a few minutes to write that out. Okay, so now that we have y'all did that, I'll check them out later. It's gonna be interesting to see what you guys see first because everyone sees something different every time. Now we're gonna jump into harmony. When you think about harmony, what do you think about? Harmony, when it comes to hair, is the most principle in hair design. It is orderly and pleasing arrangements of shapes and lines, formed with interesting lines, pleasing color and texture, balance and rhythm that together strengthen the design. When you have harmony, harmony is a unity in a design, and it is the most important part. As I previously just stated, harmony holds all the elements of hair design together. All the elements of hair design are, let's say one more time, proportion, balance, rhythm, emphasis, and harmony. When a hairstyle is harmonious, it has the following elements: a form with interesting lines, a pleasing color and combination of colors and textures, a balance and rhythm that together strengthen the hair design. When you're putting all those elements together, it will flow. It will make music. It will be beautiful. And I promise it's the best feeling ever once you see it all come together. It feels so good inside. It's a feeling that you just really can't explain, but it just feels really good. And I love stepping back when I'm doing the style and I'm completely done with it from start to finish, and it's done, it's styled, and you're looking at the end result, and it came out the way that you wanted. It came out the way the client wanted. Everything flowed together, and it's just beautiful. It's a beautiful feeling, and it's beautiful to see how your plan came together. Let's get into the physical characteristics. You have a shape of the head, you have the length of neck, you have facial features, you have body shape and posture. And to recognize the influence of hair type and texture on a hairstyle, you have straight, fine hair, which has no body or no volume. You have straight, medium hair, which is more versatile in styling. And you have straight, coarse hair, which is hard to curl and carries more volume in the hair. Of course, the wood, because it's thicker hair, it has more volume. So if someone doesn't want to have more volume, then you might want to stay away from round brushing and creating more volume because it will create a lot of volume. As well as you have wavy fine hair, which looks fuller with layering. You have wavy medium hair, which is also more versatility, offers you the most versatility. Sorry. You have wavy coarse hair. It can appear unruly if not shaped properly. We'll get more into that in a few seconds. Then you have curly fine hair, which responds well to mild relaxers. And you have curly medium hair, which creates a wide silhouette. And you have curly coarse hair, needs heavy styling products. And as well, we're going to get into the last one. Very curly fine hair is best cut when it's short. Extremely curly medium hair, chemical relaxers, and hair pressing are good options for extremely curly medium hair. And for extremely curly coarse hair, you chemical relaxing recommended with other thermal services. So they're basically saying a person with extremely curly coarse hair, you want to give them a relaxer, as well as you might want to put a flat iron on it just to make sure it's extra straight and it lasts and it stays for the client. Let's jump back to the beginning. Straight fine hair. Straight fine hair usually hugs the head shape. So it's normally just flat to the head, has no body, has no volume. The silhouette is small and narrow. And if it's not appropriate for the client based on facial features or body structure, think about what styling aids or chemical services can be recommended to achieve the most flattering style. So say the straight, flat to the head look does not go for your client and they need more body, they need more volume. You can offer them a perm, like a curly perm. You can curl their hair. You can teach them how to curl their hair. You can do different things like that. You can add a little bit of volume at the roots chemically. It's different options for you to be able to give the client what they need to best suit them. Then you have straight medium hair. This type of hair offers more versatility in styling. It responds well to when you're blow drying it with various different brushes and sizes, and it has a good amount of movement. It also will respond well to rollers and thermal styling. This is the best hair. It will do what you want it to do. And if you tell it to do this and tell it to bend this way, it will do that and won't give you any problems. Then you have straight coarse hair. This is hard to curl and carries more volume than the previous two types that I just explained, which are straight fine hair and straight medium hair. So you want to take note that round brushing, like I stated earlier, may increase the unwanted volume of this hair type if the client does not want more volume. So you might want to do like a flat brush where you just brush it where you brush the hair flat to the head so that you're not creating more volume than the hair already has. And then let's get into the wavy fine hair. With wavy fine hair, this type of hair can appear fuller when diffused with heat and the appropriate haircut and style. With wavy fine hair, it looks better when you're layering this hair because layers gives you more volume. It also gives you movement and allows the curls to fall in different places, which makes it look more full. With wavy fine hair, the cuticle is a bit more raised than straight hair type, so subsequently may be prone to minimal frizz and may be considered a bit fragile. When the hair starts to bend and become wavy or become curly or extra curly, it becomes more fragile. The hair is not at its strongest, which is straight, it's bending. So when you're bending something, like say you take a straw and you have it straight, it's strong. Then you start bending it and it becomes more fragile. It's more prone to breaking. So you want to be a little bit more careful when you're starting to deal with hair that's wavy, curly, extra curly, whether it's fine, medium, or coarse. It doesn't matter. It's still fragile, it's just one is more fragile than the other. So for instance, medium wavy hair. This hair also gives you more versatility when you're styling it because it has the most uniformity when it comes to the patterns of the hair. It responds well to heat and is easily diffused when dried from its natural state to look curly or be easily straightened while blow drying it. This hair type, it will allow you to do what needs to be done. If you want to diffuse it, it's going to be pretty, it's going to be big, it's going to curl in the ways that you want it to curl. This hair won't give you too much problems. And if you want the client wants the hair to be straight, it will stay straight and you won't have to do anything extra to it to get it to do what you want it to do. Then you have wavy coarse hair. This hair type can produce a silhouette, as we discussed earlier, which is silhouette is the area surrounding the form or area the hairstyle occupies. So let's say that again. Wavy coarse hair is the hair type that can produce a silhouette that is very voluminous if it is not shaped properly. And what they mean by that If the haircut is not shaped properly for this type of hair, it can create more volume than typically what the client wants. But if the client wants big hair, big volume, hey, go at it, do what you do, be great. But if they don't, you have to be careful when you're styling and when you're shaping the hair, when you're shaping the haircut for this client. Although when you're blow drying, it can be effective with this hair type, the process is often much easier for the stylist than for the client. Clients with this hair often feel that their hair is too wavy when that their hair is too wavy when straight and not curly enough for a curly style. I can't express to y'all how many times I've had a client say that they would love to wear their wavy hair, but it's not wavy enough when they're trying to curl it, or vice versa, like how the book just stated. If their hair is straight, it doesn't stay straight, and you still see waves in the hair, especially if they're doing it at home. You will come in contact with that a lot. It's just you just have to train your hair to get back to its natural wave. Wavy hair is not perfect. It has its own patterns. Some pieces might be more curly or wavy than the others. That's just what it is. You have to train the hair, get it back healthy, get it back hydrated for it all to flow and have a pattern to it on the client's hair. And that comes with training the hair, teaching the client what products to use, finding the products that works well for that client's hair type. All those things come into play. And let's get into the curly fine hair. When you have curly fine hair, they typically wear longer because it often separates. You can have curly fine hair, but you can have a lot of it what makes it more dense. This hair type also responds well to mild relaxers, keratin-based chemical treatments like straighteners, smoothers, or color services. When you're blow drying the hair straight, it may require a bit more attention. You may have to pull it a little bit more with tension, not pulling the client's hair to where the hair janking back like a bobblehead. You just want to put the brush in there and get a little bit more grip and add a little bit more attention to it just to make sure it's smooth. It can tangle easily, but that comes with curly hair. I have curly hair. I have a lot of clients with curly hair. And no matter how many times you brush it out, you can brush out the same section 10 times. And I promise you, every time you go through that hair in that same section, it's going to have a tangle. It is the most frustrating thing, but that's what comes with curly hair. And then we have curly medium hair. This hair type creates a silhouette with subliminal volume. When left natural, this type of hair gives a soft, romantic look. It's very pretty, it's very soft with this type of hair because you have a mixture of some coarse and you have a mixture of some fine strands of hair, and so it creates the middle hair. Oh my goodness, medium medium hair type with curly hair. When you're shaping this hair, you want to keep in mind that where the weight line of the haircut will fall. This hair responds well to relaxers and keratin-based chemical treatments and color as just like curly fine hair will. Curly coarse hair represents a mixture of coiled to extremely coiled hair strands. It is usually very compacted and offers little to no movement because of its many twists and turns. This hair is prone to tangles and dryness. So what they mean by that, when you have curly, coarse hair, they intertwine together. And so when they intertwining together, it makes it tight and it makes them have more tangles than normal, and it's more dry because it's so tight and curly because there's so many mixtures of extremely coiled hair strands and regular coiled hair strands that it's hard for the moisture to get into those bends and grooves of the hair to moisturize the whole thing. So that's why when you have curly hair, we're always suggesting as much moisture as possible so that you can get as much moisture in the hair that you possibly can in between those coils. So also one thing to remember when you're cutting someone with um, curly coarse hair, that when you're cutting this hair, when it dries, it will shrink up. That's with any curly hair. Some won't shrink up as much, but some can have a lot of shrinkage when you're cutting hair. So when you're cutting the hair, keep in mind of that. I always like to ask a client when I'm doing their consultation for a haircut, if they have curly hair, where they want their hair to where they want their hair to fall, where they want the weight to fall. If they want it to fall at a certain point when it's wet, or where do they want it to fall at a certain point when it's dry. If they tell you where they want it to fall when it's dry, and they tell you where they want it to fall while it's wet, you have to that's where you're training your brain, you're training your mind, and with experience to determine how much to cut the hair to give the client what they want, whether their hair is wet or whether their hair is dry. Then we have very curly fine hair, which is best cut short because it makes the hair appear thicker than what it is, and the curls pop and it becomes more full. So it doesn't look like they have fine hair, but it's curly and it looks thick, it looks healthy, it looks beautiful. And you have extremely curly medium hair. Chemical relaxers and hair pressing are very good options for extremely curly medium hair. It helps make the shape of the hair more narrow, doesn't make it as big on the client. Again, unless the client wants big hair. So this hair type offers versatility of styles that incorporate twists and braids, keeping the hair moisturized during styling for healthy looking results. So this is when you get into the protective hairstyles, the twist outs, the braid outs, the bantu knots, the braids. Some people do, they'll twist up their hair to where it looks like locks for a short period of time, then take it out. Then you have the finger coils, you have the coils with the comb, you have all these different types of styles that you can do to protect the hair and keep it moisturized. Same thing goes with extremely curly coarse hair. It's just more coarse. Let's create some harmony when it comes to facial structures and hairstyle. You have oval, you have square, you have round, you have triangular, you have diamond, you have oblong, and inverted. Let's make sure I'm saying that right. I already have it pulled up. Let's see how they say it. Oblong. Oblong. So I say it wrong, and that's okay. Oblong. An inverted triangle. We're going to say those again because those are also part of your verification questions. So you might want to write them down or take a mental note of these 7. You have oval, square, round, triangular, diamond, inverted triangle, and oblong. Oblong. I am never going to get that word correctly. An oval facial type, as stated here in the picture, looks like an oval, even with her hair covering her face. The oval face is about 1.5 times longer than its width across the brow. The forehead is slightly wider than the chin, as shown in this picture, the image here, and is visibly has no areas that dominate the other. So not one area of the face takes over than the other. So it's just an equal amount of each feature on the client's face. A person with an oval face can wear any hairstyle unless there are other considerations such as glasses, length, and shape of the nose or profile. So your oval facial type is the common facial type where you can do any hairstyle. The client can have any hairstyle and it will complement their facial features. unless they have some facial features like that they don't want to compliment about them that they personally do not like. Then you have the round facial type. With the round facial type, your objective is to create the illusion of length to the face, since this will make the face appear slimmer. I want to hear some lo-fi music in the background. I think so. Okay, just not relax. When you're styling choices for a round face type, a hairstyle that has height or volume on top and closeness. It's a little too low. And closeness or no volume at the sides. So how in this first image, let's do over here so you guys can see what I'm talking about. In the first image for the how we have her hairstyle, it's protruding out on the sides. So the width of her hair is protruding out, which makes her face appear more round. So what they did was they made, there was no volume on the side, so that her hair hugged the sides of her face and made the height of her hair protrude upwards so that it made her face appear slimmer and a little bit more appear longer as opposed to wider. Then let's get into the square facial type. Your objective for a square facial type is to offset or round out the squared features. So her squared features in her face are her chin, of course, and then you have her forehead, of course. Those are both squared off. So when you're styling for a client who has a square face shape, you want to soften the hair around the temples and the jaw by bringing the shape or silhouette close to the head, close to the head. So you don't want to have, you want to have hair. So let's redo that one over. When your style choice is for a square face shape, you want to soften the hair around the temples. So here in the original picture, there she has a pixie, basically. So it shows all her facial features from her chin, and it also shows her head shape from her forehead, as well as her jaws. So what they did was they styled her hair to where they created some volume, and they brought the hair down towards her face, down towards her chin, down to her jaw and temple, past her temple into her jaw area. And they added some width around her ear area, which softened out her facial features, kind of covered up her square features on her chin area, which softened out her face. Then we have triangular facial type, which is also considered your pear-shaped facial type. Your objective with your triangular facial type is to create the illusion of width in the forehead. So the objective with the triangular pear-shaped facial type is to create the illusion of width in the forehead. A hairstyle that has no volume at the temples and some height at the top, you can disguise the narrowness of the forehead with a soft bang or fringe. So with the triangular facial type, the forehead is more narrow. It comes up to a point, and the jaw and the chin area is more wide and spaced, not really spaced out, but more wide. So you want to create a hairstyle that has a volume at the temples at the top of the head, like how they did. They created more volume up here around her temple area and some height at the top. You can disguise the narrowness of the forehead with a soft bang or fringe, which is what they added to her haircut. And they also shortened her haircut to make it appear more, a little bit more rounded around her jawline and gave her a little bit of a bang. And then
Oblong.
we have the oblong facial type. The objective for the oblong facial type is to make the face appear shorter and wider, because with the oblong facial type, it's long, narrow, and the cheeks are hollow. So you want to, when you're styling for this type of facial type, you want to keep the hair fairly close to the top of the head. So like how her hair is straight in the original photo on this side, and then when they styled her hair, they created more hair up top. It looks a lot fuller, and they added some volume to the sides to create the illusion of width in her face. The hair should not be too long, as per they cut it off. They cut it shorter to fall maybe 2.5, 3 inches past her chin to help elongate the oblong shape of the face. And her chin length styles for this type of facial type base is effective when you're thinking of a hairstyle or haircut for a client with an oblong facial type. Then you have your diamond facial type. With the diamond facial type, your objective is to reduce the width across the cheekbone line. because in the diamond facial type is more wide around her, it's more wide around her cheekbones, and it's more narrow when it gets to the top of the forehead and through the chin line. So when you're styling, you want to increase the fullness across the jawline and the forehead while keeping the hair close to the head at the cheekbone line. Since it's already wide, you want to keep it close to the head to look where it hugs the head to where it slims it down. And you want to avoid hairstyles that lift away from the cheeks or move back from the hairline on the sides near the ear area. And why they say that is because if you keep the hair, if you keep hair that doesn't create more width around the the cheekbone area, it won't make the face appear even more wide than it already is in that particular area of the face. And then we have our inverted triangle. Our inverted triangle, your objective is to decrease the width of the forehead and increase the width in the lower part of the face. Since the forehead is already wide and the chin and coming down the face is more narrow, you want to make it evened out, basically. So you want to make it to where the hair appears more wide around the sides so that the bottom jawline and the chin appears to have more width to it than it already naturally does. So when it comes to face profiles, you have straight profile, which is here, and you have your convex profile, which protrudes out, as you see here, and you have your concave profile, which is like I wouldn't say pushed in, but it's like it goes inward. So say you have like a balloon and it appears as a face and you put your hand in the balloon and it pushes in. That's a concave profile. So your straight profile is considered the ideal face profile. Is viewed in the profile as neither convex, curving outward, nor concave, which is curving inward. Your convex profile has a receding forehead, and a receding chin. It calls for arrangement of curls or bangs. Typically, people who have a receding forehead will get bangs to cover their forehead because they don't like it. And you keep the style close to the head at the nape and move hair forward in the chin. So you want to keep it flat. You want to keep it flat to the head and the back. In your concave profile, it has a prominent forehead and chin. With other features receding inward, it should be accommodated by softly styling the hair at the nape with the upward movement, and do not build hair onto the forehead or fake. You can get that one open. With the wide forehead, you want to direct hair forward over the sides of the forehead. With a narrow forehead, you want to direct hair away from the face at the forehead. Lighter highlights may be used at the temples to create the illusion of width. So with the narrow forehead, if you want to create more width in that area, you can pop in some highlights around the temples, which is around your ear area up to the top of the head. And it gives you just the illusion that the client has a wider forehead. When you have a receding forehead, you want to direct the bangs over the forehead with an outwardly directed volume. So when it comes to someone who has a receding forehead, they typically want to cover the forehead. So they typically will have a full bang. They'll have a deep side part, which will cover up majority of their forehead. It depends on the client, but typically will cover their forehead, and they will have some hair that comes onto the forehead, directing forward with some volume. With a large forehead, use bangs with little or no volume to cover the forehead. So when you have a larger forehead, you can have bangs, but you don't want to put volume in there. You want to keep it either flat or just a slight little bit of volume, just so it doesn't draw more attention to the client with a larger forehead. Then we have our close set eyes. You have your crooked nose, a wide set eyes, and a wide flat nose. With the close set eyes, they're usually found on people or clients with long, narrow faces. You want to direct the hair back and away from the face at the temples. A side movement from a diagonal back part with some height is advisable. A slighter lightening of the hair at the corner of the eyes will give the illusion of width. With wide set eyes, they're usually found on round or square faces. You want to use a higher half bang to create length in the face. This will give the face the illusion of being larger and will make the eyes appear more proportional. The hair should be slightly darker at the sides than the top. Wide, flat noses, they you want to draw the hair away from the face and use a center part to help elongate and narrow the nose. When you have a long, narrow nose, you want to stay away from styles that are tapered close to the head on the sides. And why they say that is because if you keep the hair close to the head, it will show more, it will bring emphasis to the client's long, narrow nose. So you want to keep the hair away from being tapered close to the sides of the head, and you want to create height on the top of the head. Middle parts or too much hair directed toward the face are also poor choices. These will only accentuate any long, narrow features on the face. Instead, you want to select a style where the hair moves away from the face, creating the illusion of a wider face, creating the illusion of wider facial features. Then you have a small nose. A small nose often gives a childlike look. And y'all have to agree, anybody with a small nose looks like a baby. Therefore, it is best to design with an age-appropriate hairstyle that will not be associated with children, like pixies, like how they have here. In this image, they kind of gave this person a long version of a pixie because it's more age-appropriate. It's more for adults. Kids get them too, but more so women who are older have pixies. So it makes you look more age-appropriate. The hair should be swept off the face, creating a line from nose to ear. So you want to keep the hair off the face, either pushed up or pushed back. Then you have a prominent nose. A prominent nose, you don't want to draw attention away from the nose. You want to bring the hair forward at the forehead with softness around the face. So how they have it in this image, they have the hair coming forward on the forehead, and it has more curved lines in the haircut, so it creates more of a soft look around the face. Let's get into the lower third of the face, so the bottom part of the face. You have your round jaws, you have your long jaws, you have your square jaw, you have a receding chin, a large chin, and a small chin. With your long jaw, your hair should be full and fall below the jaw to direct attention away from it. So what they mean by that, the hair should be full, so it should be little to no layering, and it should fall below the jaw. So you can either do it 2 inches away from the jaw. You could do it at the collarbone, which is my favorite haircut. The hair that stops at the collarbone is so appealing to, I think, a lot of people. It's a very versatile haircut to draw attention, to direct the attention away from it. Then you have your receding chin. Receding chin, the hair should be directed forward in the chin area. So you want the hair to start to move forward towards the chin area, and your focus at the bottom of the chin area. So if you wanted to hug the chin area, that will be good for a client with a receding chin. Then you have a small chin. Small chin, you want to move the hair up and away from the face along the chin line. So with small chins, the hair is normally pushed back, it's styled backwards, and it's not really any hair that comes forward towards the chin because you want it to appear like the chin is bigger than what it actually is. But when you have a large chin, the hair should be either longer or shorter than the chin line, so as to avoid drawing attention to the chin. So with large chin, you want to have the hair longer than the chin, or you want to have it shorter than the chin so you're not drawing more attention to the chin, being that it's already larger than most. So let's dabble into this little section about the head shape. Not all head shapes are round. They're not. Everyone may say that they have a round head shape, but they don't. The best way I think to determine the head shape for anyone is to push their hair back. Just push their hair back, brush their hair back so you can get a full view of the client's head shape. And it's very important to evaluate the head shape before you're doing any styling on that client. Because if you don't look at that client and you just solely go based off what they want, based off the pictures that they give you, and they don't have the same face shape as what they're showing you, the visual that they're showing you, it's not going to work and it's not going to appeal to them. They're not going to like it. And you're going to have to redo the hairstyle, the hair or the haircut or the hair color. And you always want to keep in mind when to design a style with volume in the areas that are flat or small while reducing the volume of the hair in the areas that are large or prominent. So all these things that we just discussed, the lower third of your face, the middle third of the face, the top third of the face, the basic face shape, the hair type, the hair texture, you need to keep all those things in mind when you're designing, because some areas might need volume, some areas might need you to take away volume, some areas might need you to create width, some areas might need you to create height, some areas might need you to hide some facial features, some of them might need you to make them more pronounced and focus on those areas. So you have to keep these things in mind when you're looking at a client and designing a hairstyle for this client. When you're styling for people who wear glasses, you want to consider the glasses as arms, and you consider the hair length around the ears for clients who wear glasses. So what they mean by that is when you're styling for a client and they typically have glasses on, you will ask them to take the glasses off, and you proceed to do the hairstyle, the haircut, the hair color. Once you're done, and this is what I've discovered in my career as in the past 10 years, when you're done styling, once you feel like you have completed your vision, you have the client put the glasses on. Put the glasses on and tell them to do how they normally would do when they put their glasses on to adjust their hair. And then you will have to go through and make sure the haircut, the hairstyle complements them and their glasses so that they're able to see. So there's no hair in their faces if they have a bang. There's no hair covering their glasses. They don't have to constantly move their hair off their glasses. It's not making their hair shorter around their ears. It doesn't take away the length where the haircut looks like it's not balanced, it's not even. So you want to look at all those things when you're styling for people who wear glasses. It doesn't take long to do so, and it's not a hassle. And the clients will appreciate you more for making sure you take the time to make sure their hairstyle goes with their everyday life, which is wearing glasses every single day. So with hair partings for bangs, you have triangular, you have curved, you have diagonal. The bang area is also known as your fringe area. It is a triangular section that begins at the apex or high point of the head and ends at the front corners. A bang is parted in three basic ways, which are your triangular, your curved, and your diagonal. Your triangle parting is the basic parting for bang sections and gives a symmetrical balance to the features on the face. And as we said earlier, symmetrical, if you cut it down the middle vertically and horizontally, it's balanced on both sides, both weight and length. Diagonal parting gives height to a round or square face and width to a long and thin face. Diagonal parting is slightly off to the side and diagonal back, so that more hair is on one side or the other. Then you have a curved part. It is used for a receding hairline or high forehead, and that's where you have that curved half C parting to give you the most hair to come forward and cover the face, cover the forehead, and hide the receding hairline or high forehead. Style partings. You have 4 different ways to part a client's head. You have the center part, which is the most popular, most trendy right now and will never go away. You have your side part, which is also very popular, and your deep side part, which is also very trendy and very popular, especially when it comes to people who want a lot of volume or want the fringe or their face framing to fall on their face. Then you have diagonal parting and you have zigzag parting. Zigzag parting is more of like a statement. You want to create a statement, you want to show the dramatic effect in your head. Your center parting is classic and it's normally used for oval face, but also gives an oval illusion to a wide and round faces. Your side parting is used to direct the hair across the top of the head and to develop a height on top and make the hair thinner and appear fuller. Make the hair and makes thin hair appear fuller. Sorry. So that's people who typically have thin hair. They do part their hairs on the side or they do a deep side part to create it and push more hair to one side to make it look like they have more hair and fuller hair than they actually normally do. Gives an illusion. An illusion is everything. Your diagonal back parting, they are used to create the illusion of width or height in a hairstyle. So diagonal partings, it goes back. Diagonal back partings, they go back, and it's not technically, it's slightly off to the side, but when you're pushing it back, it makes it appear like the head is more wide, and it gives a little bit of height to any hairstyle. And your zigzag parting is to create the dramatic effect, like I stated earlier. It's to be dramatic, make a statement. When you're designing for men have evolved. That's the only way that I can really say it. Men are starting to transition from barbershops to hair salons and are finding hairstylists opposed to just going to barbershops and just getting a quick fade or getting their hair cut with the clippers. They're starting to grow their hair out. They want to style their hair. They're using styling products. They're getting their hair shampooed. They want their hair cut in a certain style. Men are wearing long hair. They're wearing their hair natural, curly. So all those things come into place when you're talking about a man as well. The facial features, the body type, the head shape, the profile, the middle third of the face, the top of the face, the lower third of the face. All those things come into play as well when you're choosing a hair design for a man. They also have facial features, facial hair as well. They have beards that extend out, or you have the beards that are close to the face. I personally love a beard any type of way, shape, or form. I think they look good. Some people can't grow beards and be patchy, but it's okay. They live in their best life. But when it comes to different things like that, men are evolving, and which is making hairstylists evolve as well and providing men with beard washing services, facial services, deep conditioning treatments for their beards, their hair. All those things are coming into play when it comes to men, and they are creating more styles and more services for them in a salon. So they feel groomed, they feel confident, they feel like they look good, and they didn't have to go to a barber. They went to someone who actually took the time to take care of their face, take care of their skin, take care of their hair, make sure they're looking good. Kudos to y'all men for that. And then we've reached the end of the PowerPoint slide today. So let's go a little bit over of a review. Of vital importance to professional cosmetologists is the ability to select and adapt and execute a hairstyle that is both suitable and desirable to the client. You will apply the elements and principles of design learned in today's lesson to add creativity to all the things that you do when it comes to your services, dimension when it comes to color, and uniqueness to your work. Be creative, make it you, put your own little stamp on it, put your name on what you do, so that every time someone sees a client that you've done, you have that one thing that will set you apart and you'll be able to tell that that's your work. You have the form, space, line, color, and wave patterns. They are all essential elements in creating an accessible hairstyle. You have the form, which let's go over that one more time. You have form, which is the outline or silhouette of the style, and space, which is the area surrounding the form or area the hairstyle occupies. You have lines, you have your straight lines, you have your single lines, you have your parallel lines, you have your, so I'm not missing any of them. You have your diagonal, you have your curved lines. And you have color. There's all colors from black to blonde. You have wave patterns, curls, crimping, deep waves, tight waves. All those are essential. And we also have learned that proportion, balance, rhythm, emphasis, and harmony, which again is part of one of your verification questions, so you should remember that, are used to create total looks that are pleasing to the eye. Once you put all those things together and it flows with the client that you're servicing at that particular time, it will become harmony. It will be beautiful. It's like that song that you just love that makes you feel good. No matter when you listen to it, how many times you listen to it, it just makes you feel good. Same thing goes for hair. Once you put it all together, the proportion, balance, rhythm, emphasis, it's going to create harmony. Just like when you're creating music, or people who create music, you have the production, you have the beats, you have the vision of the song, you have what they're focusing on, the chorus part of the song, which is the emphasis. You're going to remember the chorus part. If you don't remember the rest of the song, you're going to remember the chorus part. But once they've put it all together in all the instruments, and it all is balanced and the rhythm flows and is proportioned right, there's this plays at this point, this plays at that point, all of it goes together. Same thing when it comes to hair. It's harmony. It's that harmony when it comes to hair is that your favorite song that just makes you feel good. That's the best way that I can explain it. And it is essential for the successful, let's get our words together, let's do this over. It is essential for the successful cosmetologist to be able to analyze the client's face and head shape when designing a suitable style that will flatter and satisfy the client. Like I stated earlier, those things are important when you're designing a style for the client that they will be able to manage and maintain at home. That's the key thing. Giving the client something that they are able to manage and maintain at home when they're not in your chair. So you have to train your eye to look at the client's face, look at the client's head shape, and be able to determine what hairstyle will go with them and the features they are trying to hide or the features they are trying to showcase. All those things come into play when designing a hairstyle for a client. With all those things, all those things are under the umbrella of principles of hair design, which is a chapter that we read today. And so keep in mind of all those things the profiles, the convex, concave, symmetry, asymmetry, face type, head shape, hair type, hair texture, body portion, what you're trying to emphasize, what rhythm, is it harmonizing together, what the client's trying to show you, what once the client's trying to show what the client wants to hide, what they like, what they don't like about their hair, what they want to see, and just create it and have a vision from start to finish. And I promise your career is a content to be successful. Before we end, today, for your homework, I want you to complete the final exam today. Read the chapter if you need to read the chapter again, as well as and answer the verification questions, as well as I want you to go to Google and look for 4 different photos, 2 front facing and 2 side profile photos of anybody that you like. You can even do yourself or a family member, mom, dad, sister, grandma, it doesn't matter, anybody. You want to save those photos to your computer or your phone or your tablet, however you want to do it, and have them. And then once you have them, I want you to determine what's their face shape. Is it concave, convex, or straight profile? And I want you to the best of your ability, figure out what hairstyle will best fit those head shapes. I want you to put those in a Word document and submit them to me via ClassReach, or when we in class, you can show me in class. But that's going to be your homework. Thank y'all, and I'll see y'all next time.